What is up, guys? We are back with another video in our Welfare vs. Wealth series. If you are not familiar with this series, we go around all of RuneScape testing out different monsters and bosses with different tiered setups. We do a Welfare setup, which is basically the cheapest realistic option to use, a medium setup, which is a mid-game / mid-account level setup, and a wealthy setup, which is a higher tier setup used. Sometimes we use two medium setups to test out more weapons and armor, and today's video is one of those videos. We've already tested quite a few monsters and bosses, so if you're interested in those, definitely check them out. They're in the description. Today, we're testing Sarachnis, and I'm super excited to do this because it was in my recent video about 5 easy bosses to do in RuneScape, and this boss is one of my favorite bosses to do. We will be doing 4 setups in this video as opposed to our typical 3 setup video because we will be testing out 4 weapons: the Leaf-Bladed Battle Axe, the Sarachnis Cudgel, the Abyssal Bludgeon, and the relatively new weapon, the Inquisitor's Mace. This weapon does cost 870 mil GP, so a huge shout out to my boy Purple Fox in game for lending us this weapon and making it possible to test it. If you guys did not know, Sarachnis is super weak to crush, and all of these weapons provide great crush bonuses. We will use each setup with different armor as well for 1 hour each, and at the end of each setup I will go over how many kills we got and show you guys what the loot was. After doing that for each of the 4 setups, I will then do some calculations at the very end to determine which setup is the most worth it. I will figure out the average GP per kill by adding up all of the loot and divide it by the total kills, and then come up with the exact GP per hour based off of our setups and kills per hour. I will tell you my account stats in a second, but first I wanted to let you guys know that the channel has been absolutely booming lately, and I wanted to thank you guys so much for the continued support, but I also wanted to let you guys know that only 15% of you guys watching this video right now are subscribed, meaning around 85% of you watching this video right now are not subscribed. So if you want to continue to see my content and support the channel, go ahead and click that sub button right now. Now for my account stats. My account has 96 attack, 99 strength, 93 defense, 94 range, 70 prayer, 85 magic, and 99 hit points. Now we will begin the video, starting with the Welfare setup. This is the Welfare setup. We are using the Helm of Natives Knot, the Fire Cape, the Amulet of Glory, the Honorable Blessing, the Leaf-Bladed Battle Axe, the Fighter's Torso, the Dragon Defender, Black D'hide Chaps because Sarachnis does have a minion that spawns twice that uses Mage. We're also using Barrows Gloves, Rune Boots, and the Lumbridge Diary Reward Ring because it offers prayer bonus and it was free to us. In the inventory we have a regular super combat potion, 3 prayer potions which may change to 4 if we find ourselves at Sarachnis for longer. Spoiler alert, we did switch to 4 prayer potions. The Dragon Dagger as a cheap spec web, teleport to house runes in our rune pouch because we will be using the house teleport to Karen to get there each time because I do not have the Xeric's Talisman or the book that allows you to get there faster. If you do not have the construction level to put your house in Karen, you could instead use a skills necklace and teleport to the woodcutting guild. It will just take longer. And then we also do have an ornate pool and jewelry box in our house, so we will be using that to restore our stats and bank in between trips. But if you do not have that, you could easily use the dueling ring and restore your stats, and also bank with the new 4x Enclave, which is in the wilderness and has a restoration pool like Clan Wars kind of did, and also a bank, and then the rest of the inventory is Monkfish. This setup costs 345 KGP, which is extremely affordable and can be achieved pretty easily by any mid-level account. I will now show you guys how we get there with this setup, but keep in mind this will be the same way we get there with every setup. I first teleport outside my house in Karen, then I run north for a little bit while running past the altar, and then to the west to the dungeon sign, which is pretty much directly above Sarachnis. You could bring a stamina potion as well if you have low agility, but I do not run out of run energy with 67 agility. I then run south once in the dungeon and cut the webs with my axe. Depending on your setup, you will need some sort of weapon, knife, or wilderness sword to cut the webs. Continue to run south until you get to the final 2 webs and Sarachnis. Hop to an empty world, drink your combat potion, pray protect from range and piety, and then start killing Sarachnis. Because this is not a guide, I will not be explaining anything in detail regarding the mechanics, but if you are interested, I did briefly go over them in my recent video on 5 easy bosses in RuneScape, and if you want me to, I can definitely make an ultimate noobs guide on Sarachnis in the future. Let me know if you are interested in the comment section. I found that with the Welfare setup, the kills were relatively slow, and I generally killed the minions immediately when they spawned to keep as much health as possible, and I found the Dragon Dagger to be a helpful spec weapon, so I would definitely bring it with this setup if you can afford it. After the hour was up, I collected all of the loot and it came out to 582 KGP in the 1 hour. Remember, we will not be basing the Wilfer setup's average money per hour on this one trip. We will be basing it off the total kills we got and also the average GP per kill after we total all the loot from each setup. We did manage to get 21 kills with this setup, which is honestly pretty good. Now time for the first medium setup, which will be the cheaper of the two, and we will call it Medium A. With the Medium A setup, we use the Helm of Natus Knot, the Fire Cape, Honorable Blessing, we upgraded to the Amulet of Fury, and also upgraded to the Sarachnis Cudgel, which actually has slightly lower bonuses compared to the Leaf-Bladed Battle Axe, but the Cudgel is faster, making it better. We also used the Fighter's Torso, the Dragon Defender, we upgraded to Dragon Boots and the Berserker Ring Imbued, and we also used Barrows Gloves. In the inventory, we now have a Divine Super Combat Potion, 4 Prayer Potions, a Bando's God Sword as our spec weapon to lower Sarachnis' defensive stats, teleport to House Runes, and Sharks instead of Monkfish. This setup cost 18,568,000 GP, which seems like a considerable upgrade in cost compared to the previous setup, but the majority of this cost comes from the Bando's God Sword, which cost around 12.6 mil GP, so without that, the setup would only cost around 6.6 mil GP, but this is definitely the next step in gear for Sarachnis and still relatively affordable. The loot we got was 632 KGP in the hour, and we also managed to get 24 kills, which isn't a considerable higher number than the Welfare setup, but it does make a difference in the long run. Now time for the more expensive Medium B setup. We will call this setup Medium B, and with this setup, we do start to see some considerable cost upgrades. We have now upgraded our Fighter's Torso to the Carol's Top, which will now allow us to ignore the Mage Minion a little longer if needed. We also upgraded to the Abyssal Bludgeon, which is by far the best weapon that is not unreasonably priced, and we also now have the Guardian Boots, and the inventory is the same. The total cost of this Medium B setup is 55,575 KGP, which is a considerable upgrade, but the Bludgeon does cost 32 million GP, so that's the biggest cost upgrade. I found this setup to actually be the easiest to do because I was in full Carols and did not have to target the Mage Minion as much. By the end of this hour, I did not attack the second Mage Minion spawn unless it was near me, and the kills seemed to go by much faster and it felt more efficient overall. After the hour was up, we gathered all of the loot and it came out to 1,050,000 GP, which is really good. We managed to get 31 kills in the hour, which is very good for Sarachnis, so I'm extremely happy with these results, and the upgrades definitely made a difference. Now time for the Wealthy setup. With the Wealthy setup, we see a huge price jump, and again, this would not have been possible, and I could not have tested such an expensive item like the Inquisitor's Mace without the help of my friend Purple Fox in game, so shout out to him. With the Wealthy setup, we are using the Helm of Natus Knot, the Fire Cape, the Honorable Blessing, and we have now upgraded to the Amulet of Torture, the Inquisitor's Mace, the Bando's Chestplate and Tassets, Ferocious Gloves, Primordial Boots, the Brimstone Ring, and the Dragon Defender. The wiki says that the Brimstone Ring is best in slot here, so if you're wondering why I'm using it, that is why. In the inventory, we now have Dragon Claws as our spec wep, which we will use after the second round of minion spawn. We now have a knife to automatically cut the webs, so I do not have to drop a shark and pick it up over and over when running there. And we also have the Imbued Heart to boost our mage level so we do not get hit as hard. This setup cost a whopping 1,023,265,000 GP. This setup cost a ton, and the main reason is because the Inquisitor's Mace alone cost 872 mil GP. I went for almost max DPS with this setup, but you could swap out the Bando's Chestplate and Tassets for the Carol's Skirt and Top instead, but I did test that out and found the kills to be slower, but I only tested the Carol's version for one trip. Additionally, you could use the new Natus Knot Helm that uses the Jaw, or you could use the Serpentine Helm. I did not want to spend charges on the Serpentine Helm. I don't think it would be worth it at this boss for the extra defense, and the new Natus Knot Helm, I do not have the quest unlocked, so unfortunately I could not wear it. With this setup, the kills went by really fast, and the Dragon Claws really helped kill Sarachnis quicker, and we managed to get more kills per inventory. After the hour was up, I collected all of the loot like always, and it came out to 1,240,000 GP, and we did manage to get 38 kills, which was our most kills by far, and quite an upgrade from the previous setup considering how long each kill takes. Now time for some calculations to see which setup was the most worth it it, and how much money you make at Sarachnis. After factoring in the cost of supplies, the costs have changed. Each setup's cost went up. The welfare setup now costs 545k GP, and we got 21 kills in the hour. The medium A setup now costs 18.8 million GP, and we got 24 kills in the hour. The second medium setup costs 55.9 million GP, and we got 31 kills in the hour. Finally, the wealthy setup now costs 1,023,615,000 GP, and we got 38 kills in the hour. If we add up all of the kills, which is 114, and divide all of the loot added up, which is around 3,510,000 GP, that means a Sarachnis kill is worth approximately 30,790 GP. After factoring the cost of supplies for each setup, we average 446.6 kgp an hour at Sarachnis with the welfare setup. With the medium A setup, we average 500 kgp an hour, 655 kgp an hour with the medium B setup, and last but not least, 820 kgp an hour with the wealthy setup. Based off of this information, I would say the welfare setup is the best for its cost, considering the medium A setup costs 18 million more and only averaged 50k more GP an hour. The medium B setup would be the best option if you have around 60 mil in gear, because it makes almost 700k GP an hour, which is considerably better than the first two setups. Keep in mind, if you only upgraded the leaf bladed battle axe in the welfare setup to the abyssal bludgeon, which costs 32 million GP, you would still make around 600k GP, which would make it worth it. The wealth setup obviously makes by far the most money per hour, but it costs over 1 bill GP, so it is probably not worth it unless you have a ton of GP and are hunting for the pet, or just want to get every drop. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please leave a like and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We just passed 5k subs, so I'm super stoked to achieve our next major milestone, which would be 10k subs. So we do have a while to go, but I am confident we will get there eventually, and hopefully with your guys' help, we will get there soon. I've been telling you guys random words to comment below to prove that you watched until the end of the video, and to prove that you are one of the few people that actually watched the entire video. In the last video, you guys did awesome and commented a ton, so thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and do it on this video as well, and possibly in more future videos. If you watched until the end of this video, go ahead and comment the word DVD player. I chose a really random word this time because I think it will be even funnier for the people reading the comments, so go ahead and leave it down below and let's confuse some people. Thank you guys so much for your support. Like I said earlier, the channel has been popping lately, so I'm so thankful for that. If you guys have any suggestions for another welfare vs. wealth video, let me know in the comment section. If you want to talk in game, go ahead and join my clan chat Hartblitz and join the Discord in the description as well. Thanks guys for watching. Stay tuned for my next video.